Today on the Topic Show, Vivek on Supreme Court decision 9-0 allowing Trump to run the upcoming election. Dorito trans spokesman pedo tweets creep to the surface, and we also reviewed their product portfolio. Trump won Super Tuesday by a wide margin. Apple iPhone sales are down 25%. Dodge EV Charger debuts before the gas model. It will be slower than my Honda Civic. And Facebook had a major outage last week. All of that much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could tell a friend to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Apple iPhone sales down 25% in China, while their major competitor Huawei, their sales are up 64%, which is quite a bit to say the least. Now, this was first brought to the attention over on LinkedIn by Emma Thorne, and they're saying that this is part and due to the increased scrutiny of the Chinese government procurement process, and a lot of people are saying it's kind of retaliatory, which again, an age-old saying, if you're not interested in politics, politics is very much interested in you, especially for business. Now, in the United States, the U.S. government blacklisted all Huawei devices. They even made it so that no U.S. official, no U.S. employee or federal employee can use their Huawei device, which, again, is basically Chinese spyware on impressively manufactured hardware. They do a really good job. It's quality stuff. However, it is just a glorified spying device because of all the backdoors and things that they built into it. Now, in retaliation, China also told all their government employees they can no longer use iPhones, which, again, makes somewhat sense because the U.S. did it to China. Now, granted, how much spyware is on an iPhone? I wouldn't know because I'm part of the ever-decreasing amount of people who are not on an iPhone. Android, but they're also owned by Google, so how much better is it really for freedom, rights, and privacy? But nevertheless, Huawei also debuted one of their newest phones called the Mate 60 smartphone that launched later last year. And it looks like, again, the same first 6 weeks of 2024, their sales had a 64% increase while Apple's are down. Now it looks like, interestingly enough, in terms of the overall market in China, they claim that the mobile market shrank by 7% for the first month and a half of 2024. So again, not great news for Apple because that's one of the largest, most important markets for their sales because they sell so much there. And obviously there's a huge total addressable market, or TAM, in terms of the number of people in China who could possibly purchase the product. And Apple is leaning more and more on them to make up for their global sales. So it'll be interesting to see what type of competition or what type of steps is Apple going to take to address this. Because again, Huawei does make some of the fastest, most advanced technologies, partially because they, not all, but many Chinese companies, instead of research and development, they decrease that cost exponentially by copying other companies and then taking that product and, making it fancier. And, overall, it's a phenomenal ROI if you ignore international patent laws and such. Now, interesting enough, if there are any international listeners or viewers, I'd be fascinated to hear, do you use a Huawei device and is it popular in your region? Now, anecdotally speaking, especially the past 36 months, I haven't met a single individual who has a Huawei device. Again, 5, 6, 7 years ago, Huawei was so popular, they were even in retail brick and mortars like Best Buy. And I knew a couple people who had their technologies. I didn't always tell them to wrap it up in tin foil, but when they came to my house, I told them, it'd probably be best to just leave that phone on the curb. But nevertheless, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, sad business news, the Dodge EV Charger is debuting before their gas model, and my Honda Civic Si is faster, which actually is saying something considering the Charger used to be an American muscle machine, good old Hemi, hitting huge benchmarks in horsepower and huge top speeds, and now it's going to be an EV, which, again, is disappointing to say the least. Now, hilariously enough is how LinkedIn tries to frame this as a magical, cool device. Because, again, every platform has a little bit of their bias, some more biased than others. Now, Kara at LinkedIn said, quote, auto industry watchers are oh, I can't say this with a straight face, heralding the state-of-the-art, quote, electric muscle era, unquote, in the last quarter of the market to explore EV transition. Stellantis is aiming to win over skeptics with its new electric Dodge Charger Daytona. It's what Axios describes as quote, a speaker box that replicates the deafening burble of Dodge's Hellcat V8 engine, unquote. Which is such a stupid thing, something a child would think of. I say that because I did. Growing up, truth be told, my parents had a good old Honda Accord. No, it was not the V6. It was the inline 4, and unfortunately, more disappointingly, it was an automatic. Now, of course, that was fun for the snowy days in the Midwest where you can drift it around, but realistically, it's pretty bland and boring as all hell, especially when many of my peers, when they were borrowing their parents' cars, they actually had things like horsepower. Well, Honda did have reliability. 30 plus years later, because no, actually 20, how many years? They bought it in 2001. It still runs like a champ. So obviously Honda reliability is, truth be told, exceptional. But it was always embarrassing when all my friends had, they were using their parents' cars and they had, things like horsepower and torque and good old beautiful exhaust. Some would compare to a symphony. So I thought it'd be hilarious. This might age me quite a bit as well. I used what is called a compact disc, also known as a CD. And I remember I downloaded an audio file from the internet, good old the YouTube converter, which used to be a really popular website. Take the YouTube URL and convert it to an MP3. So I turned it into an MP3 for a sound of a V8, and I burned that onto a CD. I then proceeded to take that CD and put it into the CD player of the Honda Accord to make it sound like it had a V8. Now, obviously, within a fraction of a second, I realized, obviously, it wasn't working because the speakers aren't great either, and it was mostly hilarious. And truth be told, it was actually not one of my top jokes in high school, but it was well received. Many people thought it was hilarious as well. And that joke is now becoming a reality with Dodge making this EV. Now, they also go on to say, but if it doesn't satisfy hardcore muscle car fans, Dodge Charger models with traditional gas engines will be coming next year with an inline 6 twin turbo. Now, they also know that this is coming with the news that Tesla's also going to have their Roadster eventually come out. They claim it'll be 0-60 in less than a second, which, again, one of those instances where if you want the fastest car on the planet, well, I think current production, well, I guess the end of production was the Dodge Challenger SRT Banana Falcon Hellcat Send Out Edition, where they actually did get 0-60 in 1.66 seconds, which is a engineering phenomenon. Granted, it was on a track and the surface was prepared appropriately. But if you want a really, really fast EV, people are just going to buy a Tesla. Granted, this might look a little bit cooler, but with the current data we have right now, it's definitely not going to be faster than a Tesla. It might, I guess it'll look a little bit better. But if we just look up the Dodge Charger EV specs, they claim they'll have, the top speed of 134 miles per hour. Now, spoiler alert, I know for a fact my Honda Civic will hit 136, maybe 137 if I'm going, maybe this is perfect weather, 137 miles per hour. So they managed to come out with a muscle car that's slower than a 2018 Honda Civic Si. Granted, I do have the K&N sticker on the quarter panel of the window. That gives it totally like 50 plus horsepower. The internet told me it has to be true, of course. And I'm all realistic, I do have the K&N cold air intake, so maybe one more horsepower. Maybe half a mile per hour top speed, maybe. But again, the top speed is going to be 134, so slower than my Honda Civic. And again, unlike my Honda Civic, the Charger will last, maybe 5 years, 7 years before the battery's broken into a million pieces. Well, not really broken, it just won't charge anymore, and subsequently you'll have to replace the most expensive component of the vehicle. So, and again, it's all about managing expectations. Dodge has the best track record of giving consumers what they want, having the good old V8, give it a Hemi, good old 3 pedals and manual transmission, and now they're going to a straight 6, which is pretty anemic and boring compared to the previous heritage of the Dodge brand, and more appropriately, realistically, should be thrown into a BMW, which they perfected the inline 6 for decades with that, and that's what kind of managing their expectations. BMW fans are happy with that. But let me know in the comments, do you think, maybe I'm wrong, do you think this will sell off the shelves and everyone will be buying a Dodge Charger EV and they'll love the hearing of the exhaust, the fake V8 through the engine, through the speakers? That's actually a depressing thing. It's just reminding you of what you could have had if Dodge had some integrity and the EPA and the government wasn't so abusive to businesses. it's almost like a tease. They're letting you hear to what you used to have. A beautiful Dodge V8 engine is a phenomenon of engineering. Truth be told, the Elephant engine is ridiculously neat. And yet, now you can only hear it as you drive your EV charger. I don't know, to me, it just seems terribly disappointing. Not what the fans, not what the heritage of the brand wants. And again, there's nothing wrong with some brands evolving or changing over time. I just think it's also a little disappointing. None of these automotive companies, that they're just not very creative. They don't want to come up with a new product. They just want to, almost like a zombie, take out the old product, put a new engine in it, just hope people will like the name enough to think it's new and cool. But let me know in the comments. As always, it would be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Doritos trans spokesman actually has their pedo tweets creeping up. Pun moderately intended, though obviously it's a very serious and sad subject. Now, this came from End Wokeness on X Twitter, and they say, quote, Doritos just partnered with this creep to be their brand ambassador. Stop giving money to these brands. Hashtag boycott Doritos. And someone did translate these because, again, this individual is in Spain. Now, truth be told, I haven't seen any confirmation if, again, PepsiCo is a huge global corporation, PepsiCo Frito Lay, not obviously, but they do own the brand Doritos. Now, I haven't seen any data to confirm this was orchestrated and executed by U.S. marketing departments, or if the U.S. entity signed off on it, or maybe it's an outlier individual in Spain. But nevertheless, going to the top tweets from Samantha Hudson, whose hashtag, or I forget the little @ name, their Twitter name is Bad Bix Samantha, not the lighter Bix, spelled out Bix. Now, I almost am so aghast by these statements, I don't want to read them verbatim. Now, the first tweet says, and this is from October 2015, says, I want to do naughty things like lick a minor girl in the private part. This individual also said, quote, I'll read this one verbatim. Quote, I hate women who are victims of rape and who turn to self-help trauma centers to overcome their trauma. What a pain in the ass, unquote. This is the brand ambassador for Doritos. Someone who is literally shaming people for going to a help center because they're abused. I've heard politicians and cultural debates on resource allocation, on what's the best way to help rape victims. Is it through a government-funded entity? Is it a nonprofit, maybe a church or religious organization? I've heard different debates on what's the best, most effective way to help these people, but I've never heard someone actually say that they were against it completely. Now, another tweet this individual gave in 2015 was, I cry with laughter at bullying videos that end in suicide, unquote. And again, can you think of this person isn't on a stage doing stand-up. I can't fathom that being appropriate for a tweet. Now, again, the statements are so aghast and so morally vacuous. It is hard to read some of these, and I'm trying to keep this moderately family appropriate so anyone can tune into the show. Now, this another tweet from 2014, and I'm going to change the vernacular so it's not as viscerally disgusting. And this individual claims, quote, I just ran my tongue over my little cousin's private part, and she smiled at me. The little ones deserve pleasure too, unquote. This is, again, a tweet from the brand ambassador for Doritos. This is Samantha Hudson over in Spain, and that tweet was from 2014. And again, I'm sure there's going to be an outlier. Someone will say maybe this is a joke, but again, another importance of knowing the delivery mechanism for anything in life is vital. And obviously, there's less nuance when it comes to actual text, and that's why stand-up comedy is different. But yeah, I'm actually surprised I'm not throwing up. And I'm not just saying that just because of how this person looks. Just these statements are so viscerally disgusting. Now, I suspect I'm not the only person thinking this, but let's go in the comments and find out. One of the first comments comes from Paul Zazupa, and he says, quote, Doritos is owned by Frito Lay, which is owned by PepsiCo Inc. do what you will with that information. I'm clicking 280 likes. Clown World says, quote, I honestly love Doritos, but sadly won't be buying anymore. I'm clicking 483 likes. Now, the downside of this person is very few people actually know what they own. We'll discuss that in a segment in a couple of minutes here, though. We'll go over their entire product portfolio. Now, Ian Miles Chung claims they just fired him. And he says, quote, facing a severe backlash for hiring transgender activist and Samantha Hudson, Doritos fired the influencer as his partner in Spain. Doritos said it was wholly unaware of Hudson's past and working with him. Although, truth be told, this video will not be demonetized on YouTube because we're using the technically correct pronouns. So, again, I'm not seeing any public statements from this yet in terms of PepsiCo coming out. And, again, they should be on social media like no tomorrow, putting out statements and making it abundantly clear. Again, this is a huge mistake. And again, this is from Ian Miles Chung, so probably has some confirmation as this situation continues. Right Wave Press actually also says Doritos has just fired this creepy activist after you exposed them. Great work. I'm clicking 97 likes. See here. Tim says, quote, this is no accident. They deserve a Bud Light treatment. I'm clicking 45 likes. Good Lord. The Food simply says, good Lord, getting 14 likes. Joshua Walker said, quote, they fired it, not enough. Bud Light them. I'm clicking 41 likes. Let's see. About half the comments simply agreeing with them. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, it looks like they let this individual go. But it'll be fascinating to see if there's actually a full-blown boycott. What do they do to remedy the situation? Do they maybe hire someone qualified or not morally vacuous? But it appears as if they fired this individual, so the right thing eventually did happen. One more, Tesla Tone says, quote, how are pedophiles getting through interviews with a billion-dollar company? I'm quoting 11 likes. So interestingly enough, it looks like they pushed back and did the right thing. But will there be an actual boycott? It'll be interesting to see if maybe they apologize. That was a big point of contention with Bud Light when they had their business blunder of the year, hiring Dylan Mulvaney for $185,000, subsequently lost over $1.4 billion in sales, which is perhaps the most negative return on investment since ever when it comes to like a marketing campaign. But let me know in the comments. Do you think they will do an official apology, or do you think they'll just kind of acquiesce and stay quiet? As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news with the news of Doritos hiring a trans spokesperson who is allegedly also a pedophile. We decided to go over the entire PepsiCo Frito Lay product portfolio. Now, allegedly, they have also fired this person, but we haven't heard an apology, or maybe we will. So there are some people who are actually still calling for a boycott. Now, spoiler, this is a list longer than most textbooks, but we'll go through their entire product portfolio. Some of these, interestingly enough, are in other countries, and I think I have a couple international viewers, and I guess just as me being a business nerd, I'd love to learn a little bit more, so I'll read each and every one of them. We're going to be in for a treat, well, more accurately, a salty snack treat, since that's the majority of their portfolio. Now, going to this is just good old Wikipedia, and then we're going to go through, let's see here. We start by product category. This is coming to us thanks to, it looks like an infographic on Colorado Attorney LLC. Now, in terms of the beverages that are owned by PepsiCo, which again, PepsiCo Frito Lay, you have Mountain Dew, you have Brisk, Bubbly, Aquafina, what the heck is this? Blind Asperg Brewed Drinks, Citrus Spring Juice, Crush, Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper. Well, we're going to not use this source. So, Dr. Pepper is, unless it was spun off recently, was famously owned by Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, which is subsequently bought out by Keurig. So now it's known as Keurig Dr. Pepper. So that, yeah, this is definitely, unless they're saying they own stock in these companies. But let's go back to the entire list over on Wikipedia. So you have Agosha in Russia, Alavel in Spain, Amp Energy, which, truth be told, I forgot about them. That was popular when I was a kid way back in the day. You guys have Aquafina, You have Aunt Jemima, also known as Pearl Milling Company, which, yeah, who would have thought that was also owned by PepsiCo Frito Lay. You have Baconzitos. Sounds really interesting. Only available in Brazil, though. You have Captain Crunch. Really? Let me see it here. Who owns Captain Crunch? I thought that was General Mills. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's all the same. Wait, Captain Crunch. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, subsidiary of Quaker Oats. For some weird reason, I thought that was General Mills, which, hilariously enough, has no association with General Motors or the military. Although, if you want a fun cliche joke, why did the veterans salute the refrigerator? Because it was a General Electric, which perhaps is a day joke since General Electric doesn't make fridges anymore. They actually sold out that intellectual property, so there's a company that makes it, but it's not actually General Electric. They just slap on a logo. Perhaps not very pertinent business facts, but great for trivia night. Now, going back to the list, you have Cheetos, you have Chester's, you have Chipsy, which is in Egypt and Serbia, Chudo, Cracker Jack, Crunchy, Diet Mountain Dew, which I remember when I was growing up, that was like the only diet soda that tasted close to the real thing. You had Diet Mug, Diet Pepsi, Diet 7-Up, and it says asterisk only outside the United States. You have Diet Sierra Mist, Domik V. Durevny, or Durevny, probably, because that's in Russia only. They have Doritos. They have Duivizes in the Netherlands. Elma Chips, which is only in Brazil. Emperador in Mexico. Evervest in Russia. Fandangos in Brazil. You also have Frito Lay, Fritos. Frutovi, Sad in Russia, which it has to be a person's name at one time who founded that company, but I don't think you would intentionally call a product sad. They also have Fruit Style in Russia. They have G2. They have Gatorade, Gatorade Zero. They have Grandma's. They have Immanuel in Russia. Easy, Ivy in Albania, Greece, Cyprus, Serbia. You have Kas, Kraus Team in Russia. Turkey, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan. You have Lay's. You have Life. You have Life Water. You have Lubimi in Russia only. Mantazella Sol. Murias Gamesa. Matu Uno in Spain. Marbo Product in Serbia. Miriana, Miss Vicks. Mountain Dew Co Red. Mountain Dew Game Fuel. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mug, Munchies, Naked, which, yeah, I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. The odds are if you see something at a grocery store, it's a PepsiCo related product, but Naked is one of those little health blend drinks that actually has about as much sugar as a can of Pepsi, but nevertheless, you see that in like the health vegetable aisle. It's like a mixture of veggies as well as fruit. You have Near East, you have One, you have Pasa de los Toros, only in Uruguay though. Pastaroni, Pepsi, Pepsi Max, Pepsi Next Zero Sugar, Pioneer Foods, Punica, Propel, Quaker, Quaker Chewy, Rice-A-Roni, Rockstar, Rolled Gold, Rozukohas Mabel in Brazil, Ruffles, Roski Dar in Russia, Sabaritas, Cicada in Australia only, Saladitas, Sonora in Ukraine only, Santitas, 7-Up outside the U.S. only, 7-Up Free outside the U.S. only, Shani, Sierra Mist, Simbe, South Africa, Smart Food, Smiths, Australia only, Snack and Jacks, SodaStream, Sobe. Wow, I forgot about that. Again, this is all the trademarks that they own as well as products. Also have Star, Starry, Steesky, Sun Chips, Tonos, Tostitos, Trop 50, Tropicana, all of them, Twisties, Vasely, Walkers, Ya in Russia. It's a pretty concise name for a brand, just YA. That's quite a few to say the least. And in terms of the snacks, there are hundreds. So there's quite a few to say the least. I was going to say go to en.wikipedia.org and the list of assets owned by PepsiCo. So it was quite a few to say the least. So it'll be interesting to see. You also have Gatorade. Yeah, let me know. Do you think with this evolving topic, do you think there'll actually be realistically a boycott of the company? I mean, it seems like they fired this individual near immediately, but it'll be interesting to see what the public feedback is, and culturally speaking, if there will be an actual boycott. Because again, seemingly they've addressed this issue pretty quickly, while Bud Light, it's been almost a year, and we've had no apology, no, really admittance of wrongdoing, which I suspect is one of the reasons we've seen that boycott continue to just move on, or not move on, actually, just continue to have people refuse to buy Bud Light. But as always, let me know in the comments. Be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Vivek on the Supreme Court ruling 9-0, allowing Trump to run in all 50 states for presidential office. Now, this is a couple of days ago, but is one of his most popular responses, or posts more accurately, on X Twitter. Now, Vivek says, quote, "Today's 9-0 Supreme Court decision needn't be something to celebrate. It's something we ought to once again take for granted. We, the people, decide who governs. The fact that it took it to the highest court in the land to say it shows how far we've fallen, but it's a good start in the right direction," unquote. And for women, that went pretty darn viral. It got 1.7 million views the first 48 hours of posting, as well as 60,000 likes. Now, going to the comments, I don't think we'll be too surprised, probably overwhelming support, because again, it's one of the most unified decisions the Supreme Court has made. Usually there's one or two that will just side with with politics. You got the good old Sotomayor is pretty consistent, just voting left on everything since the dawn of time, or since she's been born. But let's go to the comments. You got Paul Zazupa saying, quote, "It's a shame that SCOTUS even needed to get involved to secure our elections, but that's the current state of our country. Democrats in many states know they can't win on policy, so they resort to cheating. Lawfare is their latest tool. What will they use next?" I'm quoting 948 likes. You also have Luke Zaleski, who's our favorite leftist. Well, not really. I just appreciate more content in terms of more feedback, and more getting in the echo chamber can get pretty boring pretty quick. So I always want to try to follow a couple of people on X Twitter who are more contrarian to some ideals, and to be told, he's much more far left, which makes it a little more entertaining, because it's not maybe mostly just mentally vacuous statements, but they are interesting, and some people do agree with it, so I think it's important to review it. Now, Luke Salisi says, quote, "Just because Trump is allowed on the ballot doesn't mean he should be there or taken seriously as a candidate, or even considered as a politician. He's a political mob boss and traitor who openly flouts the laws and mocks and delegitimizes America with his every utterance and action," unquote. Perhaps it is the pot calling the kettle black and mentally vacuous, but 43 people did agree with that statement. Now, 42 people actually responded. Can't but wonder, does he get ratioed himself? Let's look at it and find out. Let's see. Decker responded saying, quote, "Based on the unanimous 9-0 SCOTUS decision, it actively appears those Colorado judges openly flouted the law, pal. Cry us a bigger river," unquote, gained 12 likes. Let's see here. Let's see. Solidus says, quote, "Then don't vote for him. See democracy," unquote, gained 2 likes. Phil simply replied 9-0, getting 3 likes. So interesting, not really interesting. Mentally vacuous statement by Luke Lacey, but it was there. Now, going down more and more, you have, let's see. Uncommon Sense says, quote, "Who tried to take Trump off the ballot? White liberals." And he has a quote from Malcolm X, and it says, quote, "The white liberal is the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. He's like a fox," unquote. That's from Malcolm X. Though, interestingly enough, if you look at the voting patterns and political tendencies, it would be more accurate perhaps to call it white liberal women. So it's not he's a fox, she's a fox. Though it is 2024, that might be a pejorative, not sexual joke, observation or a comment. I don't know. Probably is. Now, going down, that got 1.3 thousand likes. Gato Turd says, quote, "Well said, my brother. They have tried but failed every single time." And this individual responded with a screenshot from End Wokeness, and End Wokeness said, quote, "Trump was impeached twice, indicted 4 times, arrested 4 times, and charged 91 times. All of that backfired, so states began to disqualify him from their ballots. Now that failed 9-0 SCOTUS. What will they try next?" Unquote, getting 1,000 likes. Scrolling down, you have X Steve saying, quote, "The idea that some state governments failed so badly here says something. How can people in those states trust their judicial system when it allowed something so ridiculous to have effect to be decided by the Supreme Court? This was a slam dunk, but the fact that it even came up is quite concerning." I'm just saying, unquote, getting 317 likes. Travis Manner says, quote, the fact it took it to the highest court in the land shows how corrupt the lower courts are. The scary fact is they politically determine family law cases, unquote. Getting 141 likes. Valentin Gomez says, quote, America wants President Trump on the ballot, unquote. Getting 811 likes. Let's see. Jenna Ellis says, quote, it's always been the Supreme Court to hold the political branches and inferior courts in check. It's kind of the point of separation of powers and the judiciary structure with one Supreme Court. We should celebrate when our system of government works as intended. I'm quoting 793 likes. Though, full disclosure, I also did like it, so I am one of 793. Let's see here. Kathleen Witchell says, quote, the lawfare is crumbling all around us. More to come, unquote, getting 102 likes. I thought there'd be more contrarians. News Nomad said, quote, while you are running, your courage and good instincts prevail in being willing to remove yourself from any state ballots where they're planning to remove Trump, unquote. Getting 78 likes, which again, that's responding to Vivek's original post. And yeah, I think Vivek's his action of that was definitely very perceived as admirable and doing the right thing, which are two very rare things in the United States these days. So hopefully people will value those things more and more as they become rarer and rarer. Let's see here. Susie says, quote, the fact that the Supreme Court decision was 9-0 makes a definitive statement. I'll take a win as a win. I'm quoting 65 likes. Scrolling down more and more. We'll do 1-2 more comments here. Seems overwhelming support. Not too surprised, though. Jay Pennyview says, quote, the founders knew this would happen. That's why they framed the government the way they did. If there's any hope left in America, it's at the Supreme Court. Unquote, getting 8 likes. One more from Jim Aaron saying, quote, state Supreme Courts like the ones in New Mexico and Colorado are controlled by the out-of-control Democrats and ignore the laws of their own states. Unquote, hashtag Colorado courts, getting 9 likes. So again, overwhelming support, and interestingly enough, I mean, this fact that Trump did win 9-0 for the Supreme Court, it should unite all of Americans, because again, the Supreme Court is made by people on the left, people on the right. Though thankfully, for the first time in decades, actually does have some people who believe more in the Constitution than others, which again is a very rare thing. But it was unanimous. So I don't think it actually will really unite the United States. I think very few things can at this point. But let me know, do you think this actually will unite some people? Do you think it'll actually maybe help Trump get some additional votes or get some additional support he didn't have during the 2020 election where he was unsuccessful at his bid for the United States president? Again, I cannot sometimes speak proficiently. However, if you click the subscribe button, I do have a little bit of theory. When I first started the show, I had very few subscribers. And believe it or not, my speaking was much worse. I spoke even faster, stumbled over my words. I was, frankly, at sometimes monotone-lithic. However, as we've gained more subscribers, I've slowly but surely increased my speaking aptitudes. Now, granted, some might say it's just a modicum of improvement, barely any at all. But I think if you watch the old videos, there's a little bit of improvement. So I can't but think it's probably directly correlated to the subscriber count. So if you can click that button and tell your friends and share the video, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Other interesting political news, you have Trump winning Super Tuesday last week by a wide margin, to say the least. One of the first people to report on this was Benny Johnson over on X Twitter, and he said, quote, Trump, they called it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one, unquote. Which, again, before I play the quick Trump video or quick Trump speech, because Benny is actually noting a quote from Trump, I will have a futile attempt at his accent. Which, again, it might be the worst Trump impression you hear all year, but hopefully it'll at least make you smile in some way. So Trump would probably say something to the effect of, they call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one, unquote. Which, maybe the worst you ever hear, but if you made it smile, it's at least worth it. Now, without further ado, go ahead and play this quick little clip of Trump.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time.
And of course, overwhelming support in the comments. We'll get to them in a minute here. And we'll also break down the states and see how he won pretty much every single one. Now, scrolling down the comments, one of the first ones comes from Benedict, and it simply says, "This man is a picture of Donald Trump suited up, as all men always should, looking sharp," getting 51 likes. Rosie simply said, "Nikki Haley after Super Tuesday," and is a picture, or rather a gif, of a car sinking into a bunch of mud, getting 52 likes. You have Country Style saying, quote, "After everything they put him through, he stayed strong and is overcoming. Very inspiring, President Trump, right on." I'm getting 23 likes, which, yeah, given the unprecedented amount of lawsuits and hurdles he's had to overcome, I mean, I don't know what the Las Vegas odds are for Trump to win, but it is astronomical he's gotten this far, given how many resources, how many entities are against him. Now, going back to more comments, you have WTF Ryan saying, quote, "They'll have new charges ready for Trump tomorrow. Watch," getting 43 likes. Let's see. Text Trad saying, quote, "We're going to take back our country," unquote. Donald Trump getting 9 likes. You also have Muhammad Azhar saying, quote, "Super Tuesday indeed showcases the intricate dance of democracy, where each step taken reverberates through the political landscape, a political moment echoing the voices of the electorate," unquote, getting 3 likes. Let's see. Scrolling down, we have Cyril Okihachin saying, quote, "Congratulations, GOP," getting 4 likes. Do 1 or 2 more here before we get into statistics. Rich Gupta said, quote, "Trump missed a great opportunity to be an all-inclusive nominee, asking for support of Nikki's supporters, etc. He must reach out to others and expand his support than just his supporters. Great night indeed," unquote. Grammar aside, that did get 2 likes, and yes, quite literally the million, the billion, the big question is, how do you win those voters in the middle and the voters that had previously voted for Trump and then did not, going from 2016 to 2020? So that really is the big question, is what kind of mechanisms, what kind of marketing, what is it going to take for him to win those folks over? Now, pull over the statistics right here. Going to actual numbers, and we'll go through all the states, or the states that participated. You have, what is this here? You have Alaska coming in 87.6% in favor of Trump. Let's see here. With 9,243 votes, he gained 20 delegates from that. Probably won't break down each and every one. We'll just go by state. And you have Alabama. Trump got 83.2%, so he won 50 delegates with that. Arkansas, he got 76.9%, getting 27 delegates. California, Trump got 169 delegates, won with a percentage winning of 78.6%. Colorado, he won at 63.3%, and he got 23 delegates from there. Massachusetts, he won, perhaps one of his worst performing states. He only won Massachusetts by 59.9%, gaining 40 delegates. You have Maine, he got, I believe, 72.6% of a win, getting 20 delegates. Minnesota, he won 69.1%, got 27 delegates. North Carolina got 73.9%, getting 53 delegates there. Oklahoma's 81.8%, one of the best performing states for him, getting 37 delegates. Tennessee got 77.3% with 51 delegates won. Texas, he got 77.9%, winning 141 delegates. In Utah, he won at 57%, gaining 40 additional delegates. Then you also have Vermont, where that is Virginia, at 63.1%, getting 33 delegates. And then you have Vermont, where Nikki Haley won at 49.9%, Trump coming in at 45.9%. And I'm not sure how mentally vacuous some of these people are, but they're, again, maybe they don't realize all these other people have dropped out, but there are people who voted 1.6% of the votes went to Ron DeSantis. You have 1.5% of the votes went to Chris Christie, 0.8% went to Vivek, 0.4% went to Ryan Binkley. Now, that being said, from that one state, Nikki Haley only got 9 delegates. So again, to say he won by leaps and bounds is almost an underestimate or under exaggeration, to say the least. I mean, he won by a wide margin in most of those states. So allegedly, Nikki Haley is going to be dropping out, and again, I mean, the real question is, will he be allowed to run? Will there be information bottlenecks where consumers, or in this case, prospective voters, won't be able to gain additional data on both candidates, which we have seen in our lifetime before? So it'll be interesting to see, but not too surprising to see him completely, as the youth might say, sweep the states or something to that effect. But let me know in the comments, did you vote for him? And what do you think he will have to do to gain those votes in the middle and gain some of the votes that he had previously lost going from 2016 to 2020? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Meta Facebook having a massive outage. Now, many people are saying perhaps it's simply a coincidence that it happened during Super Tuesday. Perhaps. I mean, there are a lot of outages and a lot of attacks and a lot of downtime in the United States these days. And a lot of people are speculating maybe it's going to be because we're getting close to the election. But we'll speculate further a little bit later. This was reported on LinkedIn thanks to Melissa Cantor. And she said, quote, Meta-owned platforms are online after a, quote, technical issue caused a 2-hour outage on Tuesday morning. More than 500,000 users worldwide turned to Down Detector and rival social media sites to report being unable to access Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Facebook Threads, as well as Instagram, which, disappointingly enough, has nothing to do with the graham crackers. That's just a missed marketing opportunity on that part. But nevertheless, they also note that several Meta business products were also down. Now, the last major Meta outlet outage was in 2021 when service was disrupted roughly 6 hours. X, formerly Twitter, poked fun at the situation where Elon said, quote, you know why we're all on here right now, unquote. And of course, he also had another funny post that got, I think it's over 100, what does this say here? I think it's 118 million. Let me pull it up really quick. So Elon outage, let's see how well it searches for that. If you can see this post, let's see, Elon, if you can see this post. Come on, X. It should be the first result. It's bringing up a lot of people who are mentioning him on X Twitter, but perhaps I'm asking too much from a search engine. I'm just searching. What if I just go to Elon's profile? Granted, he posts many times per day, so perhaps I'll get some exercise in my finger because I'll be scrolling for so long. Let's see. Maybe we'll get lucky. Scrolling down. Let's see. Talks about the Cybertruck. Where's the outage one? Here's one. So he said, if you're reading this, it's because our servers are still working. Quote, that got 89 million views and 1.4 million likes. Elon also had a funny GIF or a little caricature of the, Madagascar penguins, and the general penguin has the X logo, while all the slow, inept penguins are saluting, and it has the Facebook logo, the Thread logo, and the Instagram logo on them. And Elon Musk actually cut a tweet and pasted it from one of the Facebook execs, Andy Stone. And Andy said, quote, we're aware people are having trouble accessing our services. We're working on this now, unquote. Now that got 107 million views and 1.3 million likes. So, truth be told, this situation, this outage went viral to say the least. Although it didn't really go viral on Facebook because they were down. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they ever elaborate on what type of technical issue this is. And again, technically they're supposed to let us know because of the new ruling with the SEC. If a company is actually hacked, you're supposedly supposed to tell the public in a timely manner. Now, it'll be interesting to see if this is truly just a little snafu where someone made a simple mistake. But can't imagine how irate the Facebook shareholders are because, again, the whole way these apps make money is how much time of the day can they have your eyeballs glued to the screens. That's how they justify the ad rates when they're trying to sell your data or when they're trying to sell ads on the platform. Then they could go around those companies and say, hey, Bob stares at the screen for 5 hours a day. You know, he's probably addicted, but this is why it makes sense to put your products and advertise here because he'll for sure see it and totally be compelled to buy your product or service. I mean, personally, I'm not sure how much truth is to that in terms of how effective it really is to Facebook certain products and services on Facebook. But nevertheless, I can't imagine just what a single hour downtime cost them. So even though they were able to recover, moderately quickly, still one of the supposedly one of the largest, most successful companies ever in technology, having the best people on the planet, and that downtime costing them millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, as well as job reputation of the brand. I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like things are going well over there. But yeah, having an outage when again the whole way they make money is having people addicted to the app and on their phone with their eyeballs glued to the screen. Having an instance where you can't actually do that, thereby losing all those money, you're gonna have maybe ad rates going down. That certainly has to be the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone again for taking the time to tune in today. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better and better. Also, sharing the video is a great way to give some magic to the YouTube algorithm and have some more eyeballs on it. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.